Looking for Thursday Night Football best bets, expert NFL injury analysis, fantasy football tips, and NFL best bets? Well, my friends, you've come to the right place. Welcome, Degens, far and wide. What we love to do here. Let's talk injuries. Biggest one, Brandon Ayuk, ACL, MCL, multi-ligament knee injury. He's out for the season. Josh Oliver, anytime touchdown, plus 850. This was 10-1 earlier.
From a Denver standpoint, give me their defense to get in the end zone.
Welcome to the official Degen Docs Red Zone Bitching Hour.
The only thing I want to bitch about is basically they were so bad that CD was just, he had a decent day. Let's get this off the screen for just a second. I'm going to hijack this. We're going to go to the professor's office hours.
Oh!
For a second here.
This NFL Week 11 betting picks and fantasy tips episode of the Degen Docs on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. So sign up with promo code SGPNDocs to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome, Degens, far and wide, to another edition of the Degen Docs NFL Week 11 betting picks and fantasy tips. What is up, folks? I am one of your hosts, the Degen Doc, aka the OG, and I am more importantly joined by my brother in degeneracy, Mr. Derek Bennett, aka Mr. Professor Locks. How we doing tonight, brother?
We're doing well. Looking forward to another division matchup tonight in Thursday Night Football. We were blessed with a great game a week ago.
What?
And hopefully this one follows it up.
These primetime games have been awesome. I don't know, the past couple of years, maybe the NFL, the commissioner heard our complaints about how shitty these Thursday night games had become, but we've got some real bangers. I'm really excited for tonight. But how rude of me. I've made it a minute into the show, and I have not cheersed the good folks. Cheers to NFL Week 11, baby. All right, folks, make sure you get the chat jumping. We are going to have a great show. I feel great about this week. Coming off a solid week where we went 5-3 on our locks. We went 4-2 on our props, and we cast that 6X underdog play of the week. So we're coming off a heater, and we're looking to continue it for NFL Week 11.
No doubt. I think the sights are set. The lasers are locked in. I think we're set up for another pretty good week here.
We hit double digits and it's go time. I mean, look, fantasy football playoffs are right around the corner. All these matchups are mattering more. We're starting to separate the pretenders from the contenders. This is where it gets fun. Obviously, you got college football ramping up. Like, this is the perfect time for football. You got to be locked in. Why don't we help get people locked in? Do you have the bye weeks pulled up for NFL Week 11?
I do, yeah. So the Arizona Cardinals, your New York Football Giants, the Carolina Panthers, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are all on bye. So we have 4 teams on bye. Make sure you make those changes to your fantasy lineups. And for those fan bases that are on bye, enjoy a nice weekend where you don't necessarily have to stress about your own team. You just get to watch ball.
There you go. Watch ball, cash some bets, win some fantasy matchups. I know as a Giants fan, that's a blessing because holy shit, it's been a rough year. I've been getting beaten down. I've been finding things that are better than suffering through a Giants game. I changed the car battery last weekend. That was more fun than watching them blow it to Bryce Young in fucking Germany.
Hey, but if all things are equal, you're right now set up to get Travis Hunter come April.
I think of Cam Ward just because we need a quarterback, man. I cannot take another season of Daniel Jones unless we bring someone in. Look, Travis Hunter, generational talent. I don't disagree, but I think I need a Shador Sanders or a Cam. I'm a Cam Ward guy. I think Cam Ward, Jane Daniels is kind of throwing that blueprint, a guy we're going to talk about in a little bit. But hey, look, I've got something that I came across today. I thought it was pretty funny. Let's see. Hopefully you guys agree. But first of all,
where are we going?
Barmore, a guy, defensive tackle in August in the offseason, got diagnosed with blood clots. Scary situation for anyone who's tracking. I mean, very clearly can be fatal. You can die, right? And he's a big boy, so you kind of worry about that stuff. The arteries getting clogged. But he's making his return to practice, his first day in practice. And as awesome as this is, let's look at our friend Ian Rappaport and what he had to say on the situation. So he says, I know it's blacked out because he essentially edited it, so we had to catch him in the act. But basically, he said, Patriots standout, defensive tackle Christian Barmore hasn't played, yada, yada, likely to practice, awesome. He ends it with a feel-food story for New England. Look, man, I know Christian Barmore is a 320-pound defensive tackle. But awesome. Come on, man. You don't need to be making fat jokes when the guy's got clogged arteries. Come on, Ian Rappaport. Let's give the man a fucking break. Everybody likes a good burger every now and then. So
that's right. That's right.
Obviously, look, he meant feel good, but we caught him in the act there. I was at work and I was like, damn, this motherfucker really said it. So yeah. All right. But I think we have a quick impromptu bitching hour, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
We were talking offline, but what really, or we can bring back what grinds your gears right now?
You take this one. Go ahead. Lead us off here.
All right. Look, we were talking about it. So DraftKings we mostly use DK. It's just easier for both of us. Lines are the same state to state. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I'm really big into alt lines. Obviously, if you've been listening to the show, I give out a bunch of alt overs, alt unders. DraftKings has taken away those alt lines, at least for the past week and a half. As of last week and then going into this week, there are no alt lines, at least maybe in my state. It looks like Derek in Ohio and Virginia. There's no alt lines, right? So, if I really want to fade a guy, right, a la, somebody I'm going to be fading tonight and I want to take an alt under on pass yards, I can't do that. All you can do, you can obviously do, they let you take like the, every 10 yards plus overs or whatever.
60 plus yards, 70 plus yards. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of bullshit. So I don't know if they were getting drilled. I don't know if we made them. We had them scared, man. But
I always thought it was odd that they would put the alt lines as like alt overs, but then they would also have the subsection 60 plus, 70 plus, 80 plus, because a lot of times with the alt lines, like you would see alt at 80.5 receiving yards, and then you go up to the 80 plus, and alt 80 and a half was like, I don't know, 30 points better. It's like for that 1 yard, we're going from like a minus 110 or minus 130 to even money. Like, where's that coming from?
I mean, I always loved it. That's why I told it's part of that shop around, right? Even on their same site, like it did not match value wise. So I get that, but they got to bring back the all unders in some way. We got to be able to, if I should be able to get plus money if I really think a guy's going to fucking suck this week. Right. So I don't know. Maybe we need to write a strongly worded, maybe we get the intern to write a strongly worded
there was something, I think it was DraftKings that came out and said, the public's basically fucking us right now. Basically, they're taking all of our money, and they're doing too well.
Yeah.
So this is the repercussion.
Yeah. Okay, DraftKings. Yeah, we're on to you, fuckers. So, all right, look, folks, let's go ahead and get into it.
Corporate gambling, dude.
We are going to get into our NFL injury update. Look, Monday's show is a lot heavier on the injury front. It's a little bit more of a quick hitter on this episode just because we got so much packed into this Thursday episode. So if you have guys you are questioning, whether you're a fantasy team, whether you're props, whether you're a fan of the team, this is your time to go ahead and ask us, put it in the chat. Who do you have questions about? Because we're going to go through the highlights. We're going to get, as we say, the wave tops, right? But we're not going to get into the nitty gritty here on this show. Without further ado, though, let's start on the defensive side. I love to talk about defense, all 22, baby. Baltimore Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton, arguably the most important player on that defense, We last saw him go down against the Cincinnati Bengals with looked like an ankle sprain, looked like an eversion sprain, which is best case for him.
Yep.
No practice yesterday, but a limited practice today. Where are we at with Kyle Hamilton?
Yeah, I think especially being a division rival going up against the Steelers, he did have a little bit of extra time. I was obviously playing last Thursday. And we've talked about ankle injuries in the past where those low ankle injuries, those eversion sprains, a lot of times we can come back from them a little bit quicker. They're typically a little bit more mild of an injury, don't require as much force to cause the injury. So I'm not terribly surprised that he got that limited tag today. Most likely he probably will try to give it a go because he, like you said, he is super important for that defense, whether it's in the nickel, the safety position, kind of a sub linebacker. They can move him all over the field. He makes plays all the time. But at the end of the day, I mean, Baltimore's pass defense sucks, whether he's in there or not.
Yeah.
So from a Steelers fan, I'm perfectly fine with that. Obviously Kyle Hamilton is definitely somebody that I would rather be standing on the sidelines, not necessarily because of injury, just because he's such a good player. But yeah, I think he does try to suit up, and we'll see what he gives Baltimore this weekend. But yeah, I expect him to play.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, but I do think he's going to be limited in a little bit of a sense, right? So I don't think he'll be fully healthy, but I do think he's going to get out there and give it a shot. So a little bit of a boost for that Ravens defense. Cause I mean, look, if they're this bad with him, I can't imagine them without him.
Right.
All right. Let's head over to Buffalo. Obviously Buffalo, Kansas City. We have some great fucking games, man. This is a great slate. I know we were talking offline, but I mean, I think tonight it's going to be an awesome game. You got 7-3 Washington Commanders going against 7-2 Philadelphia Eagles. That's an NFC East for the first place in the NFC East. You've got the Buffalo Bills trying to give the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chiefs a home or a road dog, trying to get their Bills trying to hand them their first loss. What are some other? You got Ravens Steelers.
Well, I mean, and even on Saturday, we got some pretty good matchups. Our Panthers go up against Clemson, Colorado, playing Utah. I can't remember. There's another one or two games that I was kind of interested in, but yeah, this whole weekend slate is gearing up to be a good one. Georgia, Tennessee was the other one.
Yeah, I would even say the Sunday night game in Joe Burrow against Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
In, Cincinnati taking on LA. I think that's gonna be an intriguing game. I mean, you just got two of the best quarterbacks in the game. That game's. I'm excited to see how that looks. So we got a lot of football to get excited with. So let's continue on. Let's talk about those Buffalo Bills. A couple updates here. Wide receiver Keon Coleman out again, ruled out on Monday again. Never a good sign. With a wrist injury, so he's still not practicing. Dalton Kincaid, no practice for the past 2 games. We talked about this on Monday. Is it going to be a PCL strain or is it going to be that bursitis where he should be okay? It's kind of looking like it's more that PCL, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with 2 practices, it's not really what we want to see. So there's some concern there for Kincaid, some opportunity for a guy like Dawson Knox. And then Matt Milano was the big surprise. Coming back off what we were told was a full biceps tear, which typically is like a 10 to 11 month recovery period. Yeah. I mean, we were pretty much like, this guy's not coming back. So I'm assuming it wasn't a full tear, maybe a partial tear situation, but he's had 2 limited practices in a row. I mean, we'll see if he's activated for this week, but that'd be a big boost for that defense.
A giant boost. Yeah. And that's where, to me, like you were just saying, even if it was just a partial tear kind of a situation, they just opened his practice window this week. It might be something similar to a Nick Chubb or Jonathan Brooks where, they have a couple limited practices in 1 week and then they get him really rolling next week. So, it'll be interesting. It's something to watch out for.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Especially when looking at props.
All right, a couple offensive lines we're going to talk about because, yes, folks, the offensive line does matter. Chicago, look, we told you about them last week. The Chicago offensive line, they were missing their left tackle and their right tackle. Caleb Williams then took 9 sacks, and they got their offensive coordinator fired. And in that game, offensive guard, probably their best lineman, Tevin Jenkins, was out with an ankle injury about midway through that game. He has not practiced at all. So kind of hard to expect Tevin Jenkins to be back out there. However, Braxton Jones, left tackle, and Darnell Wright, right tackle, both dealing with believed to be mild knee injuries, limited practice. So there's a chance those guys return. So, I think that's one to watch just as they take on the Green Bay Packers at home. Packers defense playing pretty well, especially those young guys there. So, I'm always one that's interested in the sack props. So that's an offensive line to watch. And then one that's getting healthier is the Cleveland Browns coming out of the bye. You got, offensive tackle Jedrick Willis. He's a limited practice. He's making his way, or full practice, excuse me. And then Joel Bitonio, guard there. Obviously, great player. Limited practice with his pec tear. So they're getting a little healthier. Meanwhile, the Bears are going the opposite direction. So something to look out for. All right, one I want to ask you about. Detroit Lions tight end Sam Laporta dealing with a shoulder injury. Called day to day, expected to be minor, potentially AC sprain type. No practice this week so far. Where are we at with Sam Laporta?
Yeah, to me, it's starting to become a little bit more worrisome. It might be one of those things that we're getting far enough into the season where, obviously we still have to add game script, or not game scripts, but strategy kind of stuff, put the game plan into motion. But from a practicing standpoint, I don't know if he really needs a lot. The Detroit Lions are a wagon right now, and they're going up against Jacksonville, which is the exact opposite, right? Yeah. So will he suit up? Maybe. And I think it really just depends on game script, whether he gets a ton of action or not.
I think you bring up a great point, right? You're a 14-point road favorite going up against Mac Jones.
Home favorite.
So even better. They're playing at home, right? So you're going up against Mac Jones. He's on the road.
Exactly.
Jacksonville team that's pretty bad. Is it a situation where hopefully it's just, let's let him get some rest. Let's let the big guy get some rest. And, we just don't need him. We don't know. I mean, if it's that situation. So that's kind of where the question comes from. I would say, at this point.
They've been fairly vague with saying exactly what's been going on. And I believe he actually tried to go back in after he injured it last week. So it's one of those things that will he play? I think probably, but how much run will he get?
Yeah, I don't know. I would not be confident in Laporta, being close to a full go, whether it's, the management decision or just truly the injury. So if you have Laporta in your lineups, I would be planning a pivot personally. And I think in the fantasy, in the betting space,
it might be an option to fade him in the betting space.
Yeah, fade him or look at some Brock Wright stuff because there's going to be opportunities there against that bad Jacksonville defense. All right, a guy we're expecting back, Nico Collins, coming off his hamstring injury. He did practice today, limited practice. They play on Monday night, so obviously would love to see him have a full practice, but the expectation is that he's going to practice this week and then play on Monday. Assuming Monday night he's activated and he does play, are you trusting him against the Dallas Cowboys?
That's a great question. I think to this point, Houston has gotten away with a little bit, but they've been pretty sluggish at the same time. They've definitely looked different without him in there. Dallas defense, we've harped on this the last few weeks here. They suck. Right. Yeah. And is this a get right spot for Dallas being at home against Houston, who is fairly beat up as well? Maybe, but just knowing the nature of his injury, we know there usually is a performance dip for a week or two following hamstring related injuries. So that one's a tricky one because of that. But knowing that he is that deep threat, he is CJ Stroud's number one target. I don't really have a great read on that one.
Yeah, look, I think he does play. I think I would trust him. I think they need him. And I think they're going to welcome him back. When he's been in the lineup, he's been the wide receiver one. So I do think, if he does get activated, he's had 5 weeks now off this hamstring injury. So I'm going to trust him. I'm going to play him in fantasy if I have him. That's my take on it. Dallas Cowboys, let's be honest, are not a very good team. Right now they're struggling. They've got some injuries in the secondary. So I think it's a great opportunity. All right. Let's talk about this one really quick. Michael Pittman Jr. full practice today. This lower back thing is just very interesting. So he's expected to play this week after not playing last week. So another quick update, Trevor Lawrence out again, already ruled out. Look, I think that there's a potential that it's on his non-throwing shoulder, but I'm not sure we see Trevor Lawrence again this year. Yep. I know Doug Peterson said he should be optimistic and play off the bye, but let's be honest. I don't know if Doug Peterson, we're going to see him again after the bye once they go get blown out by, Detroit this week. So, all right, we got a question. You want to read the name?
D's nuts.
All right, from D's nuts. Purdy or Daniels? Okay, this is a good question. This is good. I think I like both these guys this week. So we haven't talked about the Thursday night game. We're about to move over to that section right now. I'm high on both these guys. I think I go Purdy because of game script. I think that the 49ers really score points on the Seahawks. I think they handle them. They're at home. CMC is getting healthier. I think out of the backfield, CMC is obviously a big threat. So I do like Purdy because I think he's going to get the more touchdowns. But Daniel's legs is very much intrigued me tonight. So I think you're really 1A, 1B, but I gave Purdy the slight edge. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Purdy on that one as well. I think it's one of those things that the Eagles' pass defense has surprisingly looked decent. And I think from a Commander's standpoint, I think they have kind of backed away from Daniel's rushing, in the first, I'll say, third of the season, the first half of the games we've seen so far, he had more rushing attempts than he has over the last few weeks. And especially coming off the Steelers game, he took some pretty brutal hits in that one. So I would not be surprised if he doesn't use his legs as much tonight. On the other hand, Niners, Seahawks, I think the Seahawks, their secondary is definitely pretty porous. So I would definitely go Purdy on that one.
Yeah, I think it is close, but yeah. I also that's a hilarious name because like you put it on there and the host either has to decide if they want to be an asshole and not read the guy's name or they just D's nuts. So shout out to you, D's nuts. You know what? Cheers for that one. So all right. That was a bitch. All right, let's keep it rolling here, folks. I'm going to give some quick updates because I want to watch this game. I know you want to watch this game. I want to talk about it, give out our bet. So I'm going to rapid fire these. Again, if you have specific questions, drop in the chat. We'll make a exception and we'll definitely talk about it. But I'm going to rapid fire through these. Kansas City, wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster with his hamstring, full practice, expected to play this week. Running back Isaiah Pacheco, even though he's limited practice, he's not expected to play this week. So Kareem Hunt, still a go in that sense. And kicker Harrison Butker just got put on the IR. He looked like he has a meniscus tear. Small enough they're going to do a debridement, and he should be out about 4 to 6 weeks there. So he's put on the IR. They just took someone off the practice squad. In a tight game, that might matter. So, that is somewhat big news. Obviously, if you have Butker in your lineup, you want to put him on. I wouldn't IR a kicker, but if you want to do that, whatever. Jacoby Myers coming back from his hamstring injury. He is a full go in practice 2 days in a row, so he should be good. Let's talk about Aaron Jones, Minnesota running backs, limited practice times 2, dealing with a rib injury. We talked about him on Monday, but are you still trusting him at this point?
I am, yeah, especially going up against the
Tennessee.
Yes, Tennessee. Yes.
Yeah. All right, we got Jets. Just something to keep an eye on. Devontae Adams did not practice 2 days in a row with a wrist and an illness. Obviously, if it's more the illness and he's just like sick, I mean, I'm not as concerned. But if it is more the wrist, then that's a bit concerning. So let's see about tomorrow. I'm not ready to kind of really rule him out at all. He could very well just feel better in practice and be fine. Pittsburgh, let's talk about your Pittsburgh Steelers. Najee Harris, after not practicing yesterday, is a full participant in practice. However, RB2, Jaylen Warren, did not practice with a back injury that seemingly came out of nowhere. What's your read on this situation?
That's tough, especially with Jaylen Warren kind of coming back to the explosive or more explosive back over the last couple of weeks. Luckily, Cordell Patterson is back full force. I think Najee, it's one of those just give him some rest kind of things. But yeah, the Jaylen Warren news is definitely more concerning to me.
Yeah, I've never liked when a guy's randomly did not practice.
Yep.
And then outside linebacker Alec Highsmith is out. He should be back in about 2 to 3 weeks. Herberg and Preston Smith going to step up big there. And then Tennessee, running back Tony Pollard. We talked about Tajay Spears as a potential waiver wire target this week. Pollard, a limited practice, obviously still nagging with that foot injury. I do expect him to play, but it tells you, look, he's still dealing with it. So could it be a re-injury during the game, or they may limit his touches because he's just been that entire offense. So look for Spears, again, out of the backfield. I like him against a little bit of a porous Vikings pass defense. All right, folks, we're going to go to this Thursday night game that kicks off here in about 20 minutes. But before we do that, we got to tell you about the SGPN app. If you have not downloaded the SGPN app, you're missing out. The SGPN app gives you all access to podcasts on the network and picks in one convenient spot. Plus, all of our content is on the app completely free. Type in SGPN in your app store and download it today. All right, folks, it's time we bring up some slides here because we're talking about action. We're talking about the 7-3 surprise Washington Commanders heading to Philadelphia to take on the 7-2 Eagles. Washington, why don't you give us the live lines because it seems like they always change when I get into this.
Yeah, we actually have bumped up from 4 to 4.5. So Washington is 4.5-point dogs at Philly. The total is still sitting at 49.5. Washington is on the money line now plus 190, and the Eagles are sitting at minus 230.
Wow, that's a big jump. I'm pretty sure I didn't miss anything getting announced. I don't know if people are just jumping on the home dog or the home favorite a little bit late in the week, but I just want to make sure nothing was announced, right? We didn't miss any injury or anything.
I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah, no, I looked at the inactives too. So looks like people are just sending some late love to the Philadelphia Eagles, which I'm perfectly okay with, and I'll get into that. But we'll start with the injury analysis as we always do. So this is a nice one because we don't have a lot of injuries. Biggest thing for the Commanders, their kicker, Austin Seibert, out another week. Zane Gonzalez kicked for them last week. He did just fine. I mean, look, we're finding kickers off the fucking street, and they're kicking 60-yarders. So this is a great time in the NFL if you want to be a kicker. And then Marshawn Lattimore, the big NFL trade deadline addition, hasn't practiced at all. He's not going to play. So we'll see about next week. But, he hasn't practiced since week 9. So it's not a Devonta Adams situation where a trade magically cured his hamstring. He's actually injured. So the thing is they've gotten to a 7-3 record without him. So we will see. And then they had 3 of their top offensive linemen questionable. Now, I tweeted this out, but the big thing that we knew they were going to play, none of them are inactive. They're all playing. Brandon Coleman, Cornelius Lucas, and Andrew Wiley, there were 0 practice squad elevations for offensive line. So I tweeted this out. I mean, before the inactives came out, this was a great indication that these guys were going to be good to go. Limited practice all week. And then on the Eagles side, they have nobody even listed as questionable. They're a full go. Jordan Mailata returns this week, their left tackle. They had a couple guys resting early in the week, but like Nakobe Dean, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, they're all good to go. So Eagles fully healthy, and Commanders really just missing their kicker and their new addition of Marshawn Lattimore. So 2 good teams that are going to be pretty damn healthy, which is what we like to see here on the Degen Docs. So, my friend, how do you see this game going down?
Yeah, I'm all over the Eagles in this one for a few different reasons. So the Eagles historically command the Commanders. They historically whoop on them basically every time they've played over the last few years. But we know that the Commanders team this year is a little bit better to this point. Commanders coming off a tough game against the Steelers. I think that kind of wears on them, kind of similar to the Lions trend that we've talked about a few times. Plus Philly at home. I mean, even as a Giants fan, you got to admit that the Philly faithful show up, especially for big division games, right? So I do think Philly takes care of it. From the prop side of things, I like Jalen Hurts on the ground tonight. So I took his over 9.5 rushing attempts, partially due to, I think he can get the ball rolling on the ground, but once the Eagles get up, we may get a kneel attempt somewhere throughout the game. I also like A.J. Brown in this matchup. So I took A.J. Brown to score as well as his 90 plus. I also took Jalen Hurts to score. From a Commanders side of things, I like B-Rob in the red zone to get in the end zone. So I took his anytime touchdown. And then Zach Ertz, I like his yards as well, and I can't seem to locate those right now. It was like 30,
about 30
it was like 32, 34, something like that. Yeah. So those are the big things that I jumped on. What say you? What do you think?
Well, I'm ecstatic because I absolutely disagree with you. I am all in on the Washington Commanders. Now, look, folks, I'm a Giants fan, so I don't really like either of these teams. And if I'm being honest, I really fucking hate Philadelphia. So let's take this with a little bit of a grain of salt. However, this Philadelphia Eagles team started the season at 2-2. And there were some questions. Philadelphia was burning cars, their typical bullshit that they do. And then they rattled off 5 straight wins in a row after the bye week. Holy shit, they figured it out. Nick Sirianni, not a complete jackass. Look, in the past 5 weeks, where the games that they've been 5-0, can you guess the record, the combined record of the teams they played in those 5 weeks? What do you think that their record was? How many wins of those 5 teams? Let's do that. How many
14.
wins? What?
14.
Very close, my friend. 13 wins. Those teams have a combined record of 13-35. 35 losses combined between those 5 teams. So look, I understand, Philly fans are crazy. I appreciate their passion, although I hate them. They want to be excited about their team, but this team has played hot garbage. They've played the Jaguars, the Giants. Yeah, they've played nobody. I understand they played the Bengals, but they played the Bengals without T. Higgins. So let's pump the brakes on this Eagles team being something so great and figuring it out. And you talked about historically. Well, historically, yes, they typically win. However, it's very close. Even when Washington is bad, these are tight games. A game that went into overtime, a 3-point game that went into overtime last year jumps out to me. I mean, I'm on Washington, plus 4.5, money line, plus 190, whatever it is right now. Give me Washington. I like Jane Daniels to keep this close. And what I really like is that when you talk about the strength of this Eagles defense, we're probably talking interior defensive line, right? Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. Because let's be honest, their edge rushers have been a disappointment. Bryce Huff, he's not doing much. No Hassan Reddick. They've lost some on the edge. So in the interior, the best part of this Commanders offensive line, Nick Allegretti, Sam Cosmi, and Tyler Biotish. Those are 3 solid interior offensive linemen. I think they keep it close with the Eagles. I think it's a tight game, and ultimately, I think the Commanders win by a field goal, a touchdown, whatever. So give me Washington. We're talking props. I do like your Hurts rushing. I do like your A.J. Brown. I am on you with that with you. I will co-sign that. On the Commander side, I'm a Brian Robinson guy tonight. I'm going to go his 50-plus at minus 105. I'm laddering him up all the way to 90-plus rushing yards at 5-1. I'm also a Zach Ertz guy tonight. It's not just the revenge angle. The Eagles have not been great against the tight end. I mean, we go back to that Bengals game. You would think Jamar Chase was the leading wide receiver for them. No, it was Mike Gesicki, right? So I like Zach Ertz, 40-plus yards at plus 120. I know you talked about him. I think that he's become a safety blanket for Jaden Daniels. Look, on the Philly side of the ball, I like Kenny Gainwell over 20.5 rush receiving yards at minus 110. Look, let's be honest. Both these rush defenses are the way you want to attack this team. Both these pass defenses only giving up about 170, 180 yards through the air. Pretty solid. But I think the rushing game is where Philadelphia will get some of their heyday. But I'm not betting on Barkley to get 100 yards at minus 110 or even money. That's a little bit ridiculous for me. So give me Gainwell to do some things out of the backfield with a favorable matchup. Give me Jalen Hurts under 225.5 passing yards at minus 115. The Commanders have not let this up in the past 4 games. The last person they'd let that happen was Lamar Jackson, right, in that game. So I think Hurts, again, I think they try to use his legs. I think it's a little bit of game script, a little bit about this Commanders secondary being better than people think. And then defense, because I love defense. Jeremy Chin over 6.5 tackles at plus 110. He's had 13 in the past 2 games back-to-back. So, I mean, obviously, he's kind of coming downhill, playing pretty hard. And my sprinkles, my anytime touchdown sprinkles, because I love them. Zach Ertz plus 265. Jahan Dotson. Look, Sirianni's he's an asshole, let's be honest. I can definitely see him drawing up something for Jahan Dotson in the red zone. So they tried to feed Saquon Barkley and get him over 200 yards against the Giants. They like to play into that asshole thing. It's true. So I can see them drawing up something for Jahan Dotson. He's plus 750. And if you want to get spicy and parlay them together, Ertz and Dotson to score 28-1. So that's how I see it. Again, look, I don't like either of these teams, but I definitely don't like Philadelphia. So I hope I wasn't too biased in the breakdown, but that is how I see this game ultimately shaking out. And we're going to know in about 10-ish minutes when it kicks off. So let's continue on with the show. Before we do that, we've got WT23, a little bit easier to read on air than D's nuts, but Tillman or Ridley in flex PPR. So obviously Cedric Tillman or Calvin Ridley. Look, I will give my take because I know we haven't got to this game yet. I think both are actually solid options. You know, you're talking about the Vikings pass defense being pretty susceptible. So is the Saints defense. I mean, they just got rid of their best corner. We're going to talk about this Cleveland game a lot more in a little bit, but I think I'll go Tillman because he seems like the wide receiver one there, and he's not someone they're probably going to really like super hyper focus on. Where Calvin Ridley with DeAndre Hopkins being gone, like I could see him getting double teamed. You know, so I'm going to go Tillman there, but it is close. What about you?
I'm probably going to go with Ridley. He had a big game last week, if I'm not.
I know he had one touchdown. Did he get two?
I don't know about that, but I think he had a decent number of receptions as well. So I would probably go Ridley with Levis coming back. Obviously, they hooked up pretty nicely last week. So I would probably go towards Ridley with that one. I think the Browns are going to get back to the Browns of old, especially now that their offensive line is healthy. Nick Chubb's back. I think they run the ball a lot.
Yeah, I mean, look, 5 catches, 84 yards, 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, he definitely, with Levis coming back, definitely got targeted there. So, good call on your part. Look, I do like both of those guys this week.
Yep.
All right, and then go Giants. Look, man, I love the Giants. I will always love the New York Football Giants, but cheers to you, my friend.
Even when they're in that number 1 draft pick slot come April.
Fucking Giants, man.
That's where they're sitting right now.
So happy I'm by. All right, let's move it along, folks. Let's keep it rolling. We're heading over to the fantasy football space. We're going to talk about our love-hates for this week. I will start with the loves, if you don't mind, my friend.
Sounds great.
Russell Wilson. I mean, do I need to get past this Baltimore Ravens awful pass defense? I mean, they're legitimately the worst in the league. Like, they're bad. I know they brought in Tre'Davious White, right?
Yep.
Dude, he wasn't even starting on the LA Rams. He's coming off an Achilles tear and an ACL tear. I'm not expecting Tre'Davious White to be, some savior that's going to save this Baltimore defense. I am fully expecting Russell Wilson to have a myriad of options, whether it's Pickens. I love the Mike Williams signing with those deep balls. I think he's going to be able to have a little bit of a day. And then Nick Chubb. We talked about the Cleveland Browns offensive line getting healthy. Obviously, he's getting another week healthy. He's coming off back-to-back weeks where they're giving him double-digit carries. He's came back, and he's been the guy. So in a game where, we're going to talk about it, but both of us kind of like Cleveland, I think their running back's going to have some success. And then Jonathan Taylor going up against the New York Jets. I don't know how they keep getting favored. They're giving up, I think it's 130-plus yards on the ground. You got Anthony Richardson back. If Shane Steichen has any wits about him, look, you messed up, right? You benched him, and then Flacco looked like he needed a new Life Alert subscription, and he couldn't get it done. So you should run Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor no less than 40 times combined. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to have a great matchup. I think he's going to be able to go off. So those are our Week 11 fantasy football loves. Why don't you bring the show down and tell us about who we hate this week?
Yeah, on the hate side, a little bit of a surprise here. We have the MVP favorite on our hate side this week, and it's basically because he's going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Across over the last, I think it's 7 years he's been in the NFL, his career averages look something like this. Against when he's been healthy and playing, he said it's 65% completion percentage, a 101 QBR, and his touchdown to interception ratios around 3-1. He rushes for about 60 yards a game for about 6 yards per carry. Against the Steelers, he goes from 65% down to 59% completion percentage. His QBR drops from 101 to 67. And he's thrown only 4 touchdown passes and 7 interceptions. He rushes for, on average, 43 yards a game. For whatever reason, Mike Tomlin has Lamar Jackson's number. I don't necessarily think that's going to change this week. James Cook going up against the number 1 rushing defense in the league in Kansas City. I think this is a Josh Allen game through and through. He's going to just try to take over. And ultimately, I think they may just kind of go away from handing James Cook the ball. And then finally, Drake London going up against Pat Surtain. Good luck. The only number one wide receiver that has really done hardly anything this year against Pat Surtain is Zay Flowers. And we know how that Baltimore offense rolls typically, and they move Zay Flowers all over the field. So I think Drake London, as Atlanta's number one wide receiver, is going to get locked up this week.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love to hate them. So those are our hates and our loves for week 11 in the fantasy football space. All right, moving along here. We've got our props. We're heading into the betting space. We're talking about our NFL week 11 props of the week. Again, coming off a 4-2 week collectively as a show, we're looking to keep the momentum going. I will lead us off here. Give me TJ Hawkinson over 4.5 receptions at plus 100. Look, Tennessee, as good as their pass defense has been, the tight end has been a position where they've been a bit susceptible. Yep. Also, Sam Darnold has definitely found a safety valve. I think, Hawkinson had 8 or 9 receptions just last week. I think I've been super impressed with TJ Hawkinson. He was our warrior last week, coming back from the ACL, MCL tear and surgery. He's looked the part. I mean, and if anything, again, Sam Darnold is regressing back to his ways. He's just dumping it off to the tight end. Because last time he targeted Justin Jefferson, 3 interceptions, all targeted Jefferson. I think he spreads out a little more. So give me Hawkinson over 4.5 receptions at plus 100. Also, Udrick Estime, a guy who is expected to get more and more carries. He clearly was taking over that RB1 role last week. Sean Payton has said he looked good. He's going to continue to go. So give me 60-plus rushing yards at plus 100 against the Falcons defense, giving up over 120 yards on the ground. And then CMC. I told you, folks, when he gets back, I'm fully ready to ride him. And CMC, 125-plus rushing receiving yards at plus 125. This Seattle defense has been pretty atrocious, especially on the ground, giving up about 130 yards a game. So I think not only through the air is he a threat, but also just plain old rushing the ball. I think we have a CMC week where we're going to remind everybody who Christian McCaffrey is. So those are my 3 props. What do you got for us, brother?
Yeah, we've already touched on a couple of these, but Nick Chubb, 75-plus rush receiving yards at plus 105. I think he's just going to just have himself a little bit of a game. Like I said a little bit ago, I think the Browns get back to ground and pound. Nick Chubb should be as healthy as he has really since he's gotten back. He's gotten some gameplay to this point, and that offensive line is good and healthy at this point. So 75-plus rush receiving yards. Anthony Richardson, anytime touchdown at plus 215. You just mentioned it. The Colts need to run the ball 35, 40 times in this game with Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson. Jonathan Taylor's price was just a little bit too steep for me, so give me Anthony Richardson to rush. Plus, who do the Colts play? I just
New York Jets.
The Jets. There we go. They just gave up 2 rushing touchdowns to Kyler last week at the quarterback position. So Anthony Richardson, in my opinion, is a better rusher than Kyler Murray. So let him get in the end zone. And then Josh Allen over 230.5 passing yards at minus 115. I just touched on this again. I think Josh Allen just tries to take this game over and really just try to put it to the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. So give me his over passing yards, even though the Chiefs have they do really have a good defense. I think it's just one of those back and forth games that we've kind of grown to love in this matchup with the Chiefs and the Bills.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, they got a good pass defense, but their rush defense is arguably better. And, no Jalen Watson. They've got some injuries on the secondary. So I think it's great. I agree. Josh Allen's going to try to, get that monkey off his back and really just put it to Patrick Mahomes. And then Andrew Richardson, whether he's a better open field runner than Kyler Murray, questionable, but definitely around the goal line. I mean, he's a huge guy. So he loves to kind of take away from my guy, Jonathan Taylor. All right, my friends. We're going to continue on. We're going to get to our best bets and then, of course, wrap up with our Degen parlay and our underdog play of the week. So don't go anywhere. We're brought to you, though, by mybookie.ag. SGPN started out with MyBookie, and now we're back, baby. Check out the new and improved website. Great on mobile, plus props for every game and the live dealer casino. Even new early cash out options. We cannot agree on our bet tonight for the side, but obviously some of the props we both like: Zach Ertz, Brian Robinson. So head on over to MyBookie and jump on that before this game kicks off here in a couple minutes. Head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN for 100% deposit bonus up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. Who knows what you can turn that into? That's mybookie.com. mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. All right, folks, we are headed to best part of the show, baby. Our best bets, Docs prescriptions here. Again, coming off a 5-3 week collectively as a show. Let's get into it. So I'm going to go ahead and start us off here. We're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns, -1 at -102. Pretty much a pick 'em there against the New Orleans Saints heading to New Orleans. Browns coming off a bye where they're looking to get healthier. Meanwhile, the Saints are coming off a game where they just looks like they won a Super Bowl, right? They beat the Atlanta Falcons with the interim coach and Rizzini, special teams guy. He tore his ACL trying to celebrate, whatever. Look, this was a dump the Gatorade game. I'm definitely, looking to fade the Saints after that. And I think the Cleveland Browns are a solid team, especially when they got Nick Chubb getting healthier and then offensive line getting healthier. I think they're able to control the ground game. I think Jameis is able to put some points on this bad defense that has no Marshawn Lattimore. So give me the Browns there. Also, Pittsburgh Steelers +3.5. You can't make them more than field goal dogs at home against the Ravens. You just can't. It's the AFC North. These games are always close. Derek already highlighted how they keep Lamar intact. And you've got Russell Wilson. I mean, honestly, if Justin Fields was back there, I don't know if he can take advantage of this porous secondary, but Russell Wilson, George Pickens, and Mike Williams sure as hell can. So give me the Steelers. Look, I like them at +3.5. I also like them on the money line with official play, +3.5 at -118. Then Denver Broncos at home in November. It's going to be a little cold at elevation against a dome team in Atlanta. Coming up to the Broncos there in Mile High. Kirk Cousins, I mean, it's pressure and it's tight pass defense. You want to get some turnovers. You want to keep, Atlanta at bay. I think the Broncos have the recipes for success. Also, Atlanta, not a great team against the ground game. Whether it's Bo Nix, we highlighted Audric Estime to get things going on the ground. So I like the Broncos there as home favorites, -2.5. And then Indianapolis Colts +4, -110. I'm just going to keep fading the Jets. They've shown me nothing to change my mind. I think that they're awful against the run. Why would Anthony Richardson even need to throw the ball? Just run Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor about 50 times, and you will get the W here. I think this game's going to be much closer. Let's be honest, the Jets are not capable of blowing out really anybody at this point other than maybe the Patriots. But no, I mean, I really like Indianapolis, on the road there. But again, I'm not trusting the Jets. It's paid off for me before, so I'm going to continue with that method. So those are my 4 best bets of NFL Week 11. Now your turn.
Yes, folks that are joining us live, he did switch the slide, but 3 of the same teams are on both of our locks prescription this week. So give me the Cleveland Browns as well at -1. Seb, you just talked about it. The Saints just dumped the Gatorade. The Browns are coming off a bye. The Browns had a lot of health problems early. And I think that was part of the reason why they struggled early. Obviously, with Deshaun in there, that offense just wasn't going. Jameis Winston is now in there. He's going to throw the ball around, especially going back to New Orleans, and kind of having that little, not necessarily revenge spot, but that he probably wants to show them what they left behind and left on the bench most of the time. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers on the money line. Don't mess around with the 3.5. Just take them on the money line at home. The Steelers, I believe, have beat the Ravens in 5 of the last 6 games. And Mike Tomlin just has Lamar Jackson's number. It's just plain as that. So give me the Pittsburgh Steelers to win outright. The Denver Broncos -2.5. You already touched on that one as well. I think it's just a great matchup for them. Like you said, we might have a little bit of weather. We have the elevation aspect there as well. So I think Denver takes care of business. But then give me the Kansas City Chiefs at +2.5. You might want to sprinkle a little bit more on the money line on that one as well, because the Chiefs just have the Bills number. I'm not exactly sure why they're 2.5-point dogs, to be honest with you. But we know that this game between the Chiefs and the Bills just tends to go back and forth. And it may end up being one of those last second field goal games to kind of put them over by one or something like that. So I will go ahead and take the points in this one. But I think the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. And, they just, I think it's just,
yeah. I mean, it's Kansas City
I don't know.
as a road. I mean, as a dog, right? So, no. Well, look, folks, we do not just try to discuss things before the show as far as our picks, because we like to make them independently and come to our own conclusions. So I am both ecstatic and terrified that 3 of our blocks are essentially the same.
So basically, what we're saying is, at minimum, go ahead and lock those 3 up in a nice little parlay, and as well, Steelers and Browns might be a nice little tease position there. The Steelers are looking ahead at the Browns on Thursday night, which, in my opinion, Mike Tomlin's fully wanting to basically kick the Ravens' ass. Before that short week going up against the Browns. So
no way there's a look ahead angle here. I think it's too big of a game. Cleveland obviously been struggling this year. But all right, folks, those are our best bets for NFL Week 11. Stay tuned. I know this game is kicked off. We are about to get you off here in about less than 10 minutes. But we're going to give you our Degen parlay. And that's right, folks. We're going to get some. I know there's a 69-1 out there. We might get triple digits. So stay tuned. But before we do that, we got to tell you about our friends over at Rhythm. That is right. Rhythm, our sports betting model friends. The number one AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money line spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model or copy one of the top performing ones on the leaderboards. You can now track props in the Rhythm app. So claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And then, of course, we got to tell you about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. We told you about them at the top of the show, and we like them so much, we're going to tell you about them again. Underdog Pick'em is one of the biggest menus for all of sports. NFL, college football, college basketball, MMA, NBA, and NASCAR. You can now use special and boosts on all flex entries. So sign up with promo code SGPNDoc to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPNDoc. All right, friends. Look, we cashed it last week, and we're going back for the 2 for 2. We've got another 3-pick play here for a nice 6X. I will take the first 2, and I'll let you round it out, my friend. So We're going to go with Nick Chubb higher than 14.5 rush attempts. I mean, we just talked about it. We are on the Cleveland Browns. We think they're going to control the clock. He's hit this number in his past 2 games. He's only getting healthier. That offensive line is getting healthier. I think they're playing with the lead, and I think they control the clock. We think Chubb is going to get over this, higher than 14.5 rush attempts. And then Drake London. I mean, Derek laid out a great point. He's going up against a great secondary. He's going to likely have Pat Surtain on him, going lower than 62.5 receiving yards. He might get there. We were debating receptions versus yards. He's had a couple, a decent amount of 6 reception games. So we're going to go with the yards there because we don't think Pat Surtain is going to get him at loose. Even if he gets 6, he might get 50 yards or something like that. So that's the first 2. What are we rounding out with there?
Yeah, give us DeAndre Hopkins higher than 49.5 receiving yards. He's done this over the last 2 games. He had 86 against Tampa Bay and 56 against the Denver Broncos last week. So I have no doubt in my mind that he will go over this again against the Bills. There will be some points in that game. So I think Pat Mahomes will be looking for Hopkins, especially if he can't find his good old pal Travis Kelce. So give us Hopkins higher than 49.5.
Love it. All right, that is Nick Chubb higher than 14.5 rush attempts, Drake London lower than 62.5 receiving yards, and DeAndre Hopkins higher than 49.5 receiving yards for a nice 6x your money. Again, coming off that nice cash last week. All right, folks, we got our Degen parlay, and then we're gonna get you the hell out of here. You are up first. Ooh, triple digits.
Yeah, so we're sitting at a nice 116-1. If these 4 teams don't know how to score.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I went on a little different look this week for my Degens only. So I took under team totals. So the Saints can't score more than 17.5 points against the Browns. Okay. The Jaguars can't score more than 7.5 against the Vikings.
Doable.
The Titans can't score more than 13.5.
Will Levis still their quarterback?
He is.
Okay. Yep. Like
He
it.
is. And the Ravens going up against the Steelers with maybe the number one defense in the league can't score more than 21.5. So I got us over that key number at 21. If those 4 teams can't score this weekend, 116-1.
Wow. I mean, look, I might be drunk, but this looks good. Again, we don't see each other's plays. I had no idea this madman was going this approach, but I like it. 116-1, man. Why not? Let's go pizza bet on that. And
yeah, I mean, I try to, keep those key numbers in mind. I dove into the lab and broke out the old calculus or something. I don't know.
Well, that lab might have exploded with this, but I appreciate it, my fan. 116-1.
Right.
Love it. All right. Well, I look like a giant little girl. Family friendly show.
Nah,
so
I don't know about that. You're sitting pretty nice in this one, dude.
Oh, thank you, my friend. Thank you. All right, we're gonna go with CMC. I told you it's gonna be CMC breakout game. Seattle is the perfect team to go against. They're very susceptible on the ground, through the air. CMC 2 touchdowns, and then Jahmyr Gibbs. Whether Laporta's out there or not, I think that the Detroit Lions are going to be able to control the ball at home. Gibbs has been kind of the lead back. He's kind of taken over that role a little bit. Obviously, I'm a big Monty guy. I think Dave Montgomery gets his, but I think Gibbs, he scores 1 on the red zone and 1, a little dump off. He takes it like 40, 50 yards. 2 touchdowns there. And then Jonathan Taylor, 120 plus yards. I mean, if Shane Steichen is smart, he will just hand the ball off and let Richardson run again 40, 50 times this game. And the Jets defense is susceptible. They are not the same defense as they were last year. So put all those together and we get a nice 69-1. All right, folks. Look, the whiskey is low, so that means it's time to go. So what do you got for the good people before we get out of here and we can go enjoy this amazing Thursday night football game?
Yeah, so tomorrow night, obviously, we may have a few college games, no premier games, but at the same time, enjoy your Friday night. Take the dog and the wife or the husband or whoever out for a nice walk. And as you do that, say hi to all your neighbors. Tell them that, hey, we just cashed a shit ton of money on Thursday night football after listening to the Degen Docs. Go ahead, make sure they follow us on the X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all the socials. We greatly appreciate all the support. Give us those 5-star likes, ratings, reviews, all the things, because that's what's keeping the lights on at home. Not really, but anyways.
I love it. Look, man, what can I say? I mean, look, he's got the best promo in the game. So we do appreciate it as a new show. It's our first season. Any feedback, any comments, any likes, we do really appreciate that, folks. We're always trying to give back to you, and we're just trying to talk ball and have some fun and, of course, win you some money. So Monday and Thursday nights, live, 7:15 Eastern on YouTube and X, every week-ish.
We'll say 7:15-ish.
Yeah, whatever. Time, whatever. If we're being in the military, my time maintenance is not the best, but it is what it is. You get it over it, all right? Fucking whiskey doesn't help. So, anyway, folks, you know what they say. A lock a day keeps the bookie away. And here at the Degen Docs, we've got your prescription. All right, folks, from the Degen Doc himself, and more importantly, the Professor Locks, we are the Degen Docs, and we are out of here. What's up, Degens? Doc here. As a proud member of the U.S. Army and a lover of football, sometimes those two things cross over on here. But as you probably already know, as a lowly captain, these are just my opinions. These are not opinions that are representative of the entire DoD or the U.S. Army. The same thing goes for any references to any commercial products or hyperlinks. Again, that does not constitute an endorsement from the DoD or the Army. I hope you enjoyed the show, and as always, let it rock.